For the past several weeks, many Americans have been watching Donald Trump and asking the exact same question. What is happening to the president? His public appearances have raised real concerns about his health and his cognitive state. Joining me today is Adam, a licensed physical therapist with 14 years of experience in home healthcare and a doctorate of physical therapy. Now, you might know him. He's gone viral for being one of the few medical professionals willing to speak openly about what we're all seeing: Trump's physical and neurological decline. So, what do these recent clips actually tell us about Trump's condition? And how serious is it? Let's take a look. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate your time, and I know you're very busy, so thank you. And what a moment for us to be meeting over is, this is what you do. You assert that the president has dementia and that there is clear signs of it. And it's probably, aside from the Epstein files, one of the biggest cover-ups in American history. Would you say that's correct?
That is correct. I have been, what I see from him leads me to believe he has frontotemporal dementia specifically. And the context of that dementia is actually a malignant narcissism, which makes it even more fun.
Got it. And what got you kind of onto this path? Because is it just that no one else is talking about it, or why did you feel like it was important that you had your voice out here?
So I was not thinking about Trump's health until I saw his feet and ankles and the degree of swelling that he had. And as soon as I saw that, obviously the focus of what we talk about is his cognitive decline. But when I saw that, it looked exactly like the patients I have that have congestive heart failure and or chronic kidney disease. So really, the first video I made talking about it, that's what actually got my account off the ground. Um, so that's where it started. And then I discovered, for just one example, would be Dr. John Gardner, a former associate professor at Johns Hopkins University, who has been warning the world that Trump is a malignant narcissist, but also has dementia, and he's a danger to American society as an elected official. So once uh, I saw how much swelling he had, I knew the White House was lying. They're lying that it's chronic venous insufficiency. That swelling does not have that degree or character from CVI. It's something uh, it's something way more systemic. So that's how it started.
Well, let's look at some of these video. We have videos and images to look at. First, let's just check this out. When we see this, now obviously, like this photo has gone, like, we've all seen this photo, but what we have talked about on the channel previously was that this is a sign of a stroke. But you assert that this may actually, in fact, be a sign of dementia. And what are you seeing here that I'm not?
Well, I do actually think it is a symptom of a stroke. The right side of facial
Ah,
droop is the result, most likely, of a stroke event on the left side of the brain, which would cause right-sided facial droop. He's also demonstrated weakness in his right arm and leg, and the facial droop or facial weakness is not in his forehead, and that would differentiate it from something like Bell's palsy. So I think at some point, most likely around Labor Day, he had some sort of stroke or stroke-like event, whether it was a full-blown CVA or a TIA, and that's why he disappeared. And he was getting
that's when he
medical work.
disappeared, right?
Yep.
He disappeared during that time.
hmm
And did he show up looking like this on the way back, or was this beforehand? I can't remember the timeline. Do you know?
So this was September the 11th. I can't remember where Labor Day falls in September off the top of my head, but um, he was sitting at this is the 9/11 memorial where he's
Hmm.
seated for a long time for the ceremony, all of which he could absolutely care less about, of course. But as he starts to get fatigued, the stroke symptom in his face starts to come out. The more tired he is, the more all of his symptoms will become apparent. So I believe that's what we're seeing there in that photo.
Now, why? Because I feel like this is not as pronounced as it used to. And I'm not a doctor. So
Mhm.
do those signs go away after does it eventually like even out, or it can get better after a stroke?
Yeah, it depends on how severe it is. The brain exhibits what we call neuroplasticity, which is the ability for it to actually rewire itself to a certain degree or to heal from an ischemic event such as a stroke or TIA. So that explains why stroke patients can recover, but it is determinant on, how severe it was and what kind of health you were in beforehand. If he were my patient, I would tell him, you're extremely lucky that the stroke didn't completely paralyze your right side. And you actually have shown a measure of improvement before I got to you for home health physical therapy. So you better start behaving, because once you have one, it's not a guarantee you'll have another one, but it certainly makes it easier. That's kind of the conversation I would have with him as my patient. So it can improve. It just depends on whether the patient cares enough to abide by medical advice, which he doesn't. So yeah, it's all contextual.
All right, now we have clips from these are just from the past week. Everyone, this is just from the past week. I'm gonna show. Let's just show this clip from when they're treating him like a Make-A-Wish kid, where
Yes.
they just keep giving him awards that mean nothing. And this one, he was they had a street named after him. And here's what he had to say.
Than they've ever done before. They're up 78% in many cases. But starting on day one, we fully secured our Southern Boulevard and stopped and think of it, as we were securing Southern Boulevard, making Florida great, we're also securing a thing called the Southern Border and making that great, and we stopped the invasion.
So there, I mean, obviously what he did was he meant to say Southern Border. He said Southern Boulevard. Now, I guess, listen, I think with Joe Biden, obviously there were signs of some mental fatigue for Joe Biden, but I think everything was a crisis. Every slip up that are just normal slip ups. That to me seemed different, because he's obviously wanting to say border, but he says boulevard. And then I think he's trying to correct himself again, and he still says boulevard. And then obviously he understands what's happening, so he just then tries to segue into something that can tie it together. So what's happening there?
So I think it's called a phonemic paraphasia. It's the inability to pronounce a word correctly, or you just reach for the wrong word. And he has this.
He does it a lot.
He does it a lot. I think he has a long-standing difficulty reading to begin with, and he's hid that with his ego. He's hid that with his malignant narcissism. He's never cared to, be a person of any academic repute, because he knows, he's just reaching for actual power over other people and not actually being a person that somebody could actually respect for their authentic intelligence. But when he says something wrong, he backs up and he attempts to make it sound natural. His frontal lobe, for frontotemporal dementia, it's named so because the frontal lobe and the temporal lobes are starting to atrophy inside the skull. And if you took an MRI of a frontotemporal dementia patient's brain, you see less brain matter, and you actually start to see a gap or space form between the brain matter and the skull, because the neurons are literally dying. The frontal lobe is our filter. It's our reality tester. It keeps us from saying the stuff that we should not say, even if we're all thinking it. He is losing that ability to filter what he says or doesn't say, and reaching for the wrong word is a downstream effect of that.
Well, that's a great segue to what happened earlier this week, too, where the President of the United States did this. So there's Donald Trump mouthing "fuck you" or "fuck off" to a Ford voter, who, by the way, many people on the channel donated to, and I donated to, because we need people that actually are calling this guy out. But so you're saying that is actually that is a sign of someone who is, for lack of a better word, he's losing his mind by being able to do that. Like, he's not able to temper his emotions.
Mm-hmm. Clinically speaking, it's the frontal lobe dysfunction, the filter that keeps you from reacting directly to the situation in front of you, especially if you are a public figure, and especially even more so if you're the President of the United States. The vast majority of presidents, they work at and curate their discretion. And, you know, George W. Bush, he had a shoe thrown at him and he just kind of kept moving. He didn't go after the man who threw the shoe. He tried to move on because he wants to keep the perception of the office as high as it can possibly be, whether people agree or disagree, because it's about respecting himself and respecting the office and the American people and the rule of law, all these things that Donald Trump doesn't care about. So Trump, his brain literally can't do it anymore. And it's going to get worse. Dr. Gardner said, take a look at Donald Trump today. And it is
Who's Dr. Gardner?
Dr. John Gardner used to be associate professor at Johns Hopkins Medical School. And he's the guy who has been warning the public since roughly 2015 that Donald Trump has a dangerous psychiatric profile. But it's him losing his filter. And the thing that makes it difficult to distinguish this is that, again, the context of all of his symptoms is malignant narcissism, which, by the way, is not in the DSM-5. It is not a diagnosis you're going to find codified clearly in the DSM. It was created to explain the psychiatric profile of Adolf Hitler. That's why it was created, because we literally could not conceive as a society of someone who could be this way. So the greatest fear for somebody who actually has legitimate clinical narcissistic personality disorder is exposure. And the biggest nuclear bomb that has not gone off quite yet for the Trump administration or MAGA is the Epstein files. And that guy pointed right in his face and said, I know exactly what you are. And it triggered again, the filter is disintegrating. And also, he will do anything. He will start World War III to keep from being exposed. That's what we're watching in real time.
I have this clip here from, I believe this is from this week, from perhaps from last week, but an oil event with the president.
Well, I got to look at this myself.
Now, actually, let me just tee this up a little bit better, because I want to keep everyone in mind that the president had every oil executive here. And then this clip is starting when it happens, but he literally abruptly, he brings up the ballroom and he goes, I should go look at the ballroom right now. And that's what we're watching here.
Yeah.
And I want you to also, if you're watching, keep in mind like the reactions to his cabinet members and Susie Wiles, who I think you can see a little bit in this.
Well, I got to look at this myself. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the ballroom.
I actually think there's a lot going on here. I mean, obviously the reaction of the cabinet and his chief of staff is very telling, but what are you seeing when you watch this clip of the president?
Right. So it's his emotional limbic system, or the emotional center of your brain, is going to be more and more in the driver's seat as his frontal lobe filter disintegrates. So I think in this room, he has gathered an absolute metric ton of money and shareholder value in the room. These are real CEOs. Donald Trump has never been a real CEO with actual legal guardrails. He's never done that. So when these guys come in the room, he's intimidated. He's a deeply insecure man, and he constantly covers it over with his narcissism. So I think he's intimidated, and he reaches for something comfortable. And so he gets up in the middle of this meeting. And by the way, the entire narrative about Venezuela rests on the people in this room getting on board with him. Whatever it is he's doing in Venezuela, they can legitimize the narrative. And so he gets up to do this because he's scared. He's insecure. He reaches for his ballroom, which I believe his cabinet, his closest circle of advisors have gone along with the entire time, because it is the equivalent of an adult coloring book for a dementia patient. All the redecorating of the White House, it looks like Mar-a-Lago. It looks like his favorite place on the world, on the planet. So he can't, his filter can't say, you know, there are multiple billions of dollars sitting in this room right now. Why don't you just not? Why don't you just move on to the next topic? Let's just do the meeting. No, that doesn't occur to him. He gets up to look at basically what is a hole in the ground. There's nothing to see out there. So it seems absurd because it 100% is, because he has dementia.
Now, what would you say to people who are like, come on, this is selectively edited. Everyone trips up their words. You know, Donald Trump's always been a little bit out there. He's never been someone who is, you know, like a typical individual. He's always been someone who does things for attention, and he doesn't care what other people think. So that's what we're seeing. Like, what do you say to those people?
Okay, so I work with these people every day, and here's what will happen. I will sit in the living room of a patient with a family member or maybe two. The patient will tell me, they'll answer my questions. And 75% of the time, their adult child sitting on the couch right across the room will interrupt them regularly to correct what they are saying. I mean, regularly. That is the reality of a dementia patient. The medical team around Trump are lying. He has been lying about his health since 2015, at least. At least. This is documented and reported on. Okay. So people, they can work, because he is the president. They can shelter him from public scrutiny through the best medical care on the planet, and also arranging his schedule. He can say yes or no to things arbitrarily simply because of the office he holds. But he is displaying it feels like I'm watching a TV show starring one of my patients. That's what it feels like. So, and again, just like we joked earlier, and we joked about this before the interview started, all of these clips you're showing are from the last week or 2 weeks. Like, it's getting to where he can't hide any of he tells the world he had an MRI. What part of the body did you have it on? I don't know. It was amazing though. The doctor said they said it's the best they've ever seen. No doctor talks about MRIs that way. That's not how they're interpreted. It's a mountain of absurdity as a clinician who deals with these patients every day. It's a dead ringer for all the pathology that I'm describing.
Now, you have said, I think it's quite a shocking thing to hear, but you have said that Trump has, I believe you said 4 to 6 months left. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah, it's actually 2 to 4 at this point.
2 to 4, okay.
Yeah, what I believe is we are 2 to 4 months from him leaving the land of the living, or they invoke the 25th, or he's flat out impeached. I think we're that close. Again, his personal aides, when they're on Air Force One, they take turns sitting up with him through the night because he won't go to bed. And he makes fun of them.
But that's like a typical symptom of dementia, is not being able to sleep regularly?
Yes. This is called sundowning, where the sleep-wake cycles get reversed. The suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is housed within the hypothalamus, that is where your master clock is housed. It's the thing in your brain that says, "Oh, time to go to bed." That starts to deteriorate with a dementia patient. That's why the days and nights get flipped around. Their brain literally wants to sleep during the day, which is why he falls asleep during cabinet meetings. They're literally showering him with praise, and he cannot stay awake. It's the one thing in the world he loves to do, is to be told how great he is, and he can't stay awake for it anymore. So it's well documented and reported he's sundowning. And we're just not that far from him doing or saying something, or failing to show up as a normal president would, that will absolutely shock the world.
Well, I mean, we've featured your videos many times here on the channel. So I just want to say thank you for your, I think it's called journalism. I don't know if you call it that, but I do think it's journalism. Thank you for exposing the truth around this. I think for whatever reason, the mainstream media either avoids it or doesn't want to talk about it or doesn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
I think it's a very serious topic to discuss. I'm not sure if the president has 2 to 4 months, as you assert, or if it's much longer, but regardless, we are seeing the degradation of someone's brain in real time.
And I need to mention that I don't mind being wrong about that. It's okay if, I guess if he survives longer or if, he's not impeached by that point, I'm okay to be wrong about that. But man, he keeps giving me something to talk about every day. The trend is not in the positive.
Well, where can folks find you?
At Epistemic Crisis on all the platforms.
Okay, and I'll link to it below in the description. Again, thank you for the time. I hope we can do this again, or maybe not. Maybe I hope the president just gets better. I don't think it's going to happen, but it would be nice if we had a president who was on the up and up rather than on the down and down. But I'm glad that at least we were able to show folks a little bit of what we think's going on. And thanks again.
Delighted to meet you. Thank you.